Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Scrappy Startups. I'm Bill Ruh, your host for today's episode. Now, today we're going to be talking to the founder alongside with one of the early employees of 406 Agave. Now, 406 Agave is a tequila company started in Montana by Payton Hueler. Now, Peyton started the business in his dorm room, and he has never looked back. Joining him is one of the first employees of the company, Jake Aaberg, and we'll be talking to them about what does it take to create a successful international startup. Being an entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to be of a certain age or a certain experience, no matter what anybody tells you. Doing it when you're very young and doing it when you're very old are not determinants of success. This podcast is about discussing what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur by those who are doing it today. And in today's show, we'll explore the complexity of an international business, the importance of continuous learning to success. How do you create your own leadership model or style and your own culture? And finally, the importance of cash. And in this particular episode, the importance of being realistic on cash needs and managing cash flow. So with that said, let's jump right in and start talking to our guests. So welcome back, everyone. And it's great, Peyton and Jake, to have you joining our podcast here. So why don't we just jump right in? I'll start with you, Peyton. How'd you end up in Montana? You're up in Big Sky. I think I could see it behind you. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Mom's side of the family was originally from Helena, Montana. I grew up coming out here my entire life. And I remember I was a little kid and told my parents I was going to live in Montana. And they thought I was crazy and it would never happen because nothing was really here in Big Sky, especially. And then when I was looking at colleges, I only applied to MSU and knew I wanted to come here and never looked back.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And Jake, you joined 406 Agave. And how did you know Peyton? How'd you decide to do this? How'd you end up in Montana?
So I'm originally from a really small town in northern Montana called Chester. Grew up there my whole life and came to MSU as well. Peyton and I were actually in the same dorm building. We didn't really know each other. I think we had some mutual friends. And I think it was really right place at the right time. When Peyton was launching 406, he asked my buddy and I to come help out. And I was kind of just tagging along because it sounded cool. It was kind of domino effect from there, and it turned into one role after another and then turned into a full-time gig, which is where I'm at now.
Peyton, how did you decide to be an entrepreneur? Did you know you were going to do that at MSU or before that?
My family's always been very entrepreneurial and very business focused. And my great grandfather, he built the first mall in Montana, in Helena. And
wow.
He kind of instilled that, real estate, entrepreneurship, business ownership, mentality in my grandfather, then passed it on to my mom. And so I've always grown up around entrepreneurship. And it was always funny going to friends' houses as a kid for dinner because their families would talk about like school and grades. And my family would talk about what property was for sale and what, employee was having an issue. And it was just always a very entrepreneur conversation in the house. And so I always knew, I think I wanted to be my own boss and start something. I'm definitely more on the creative aspect rather than the hard skills, but starting it was really, really fun. And I just knew I wanted to be my own boss and start something for myself.
So your family and your background influences you to be an entrepreneur. But if I listen, I would have expected to become a real estate entrepreneur.
Well,
here you are with 406 Agave. How did you, why this? How did you decide on it? Tell us a little bit about the company.
Yeah, I was working in food and beverage up here in Big Sky, and a colleague of mine was really connected in the tequila world. And I was actually not a tequila drinker. I had a bad experience in college and did not enjoy it. And so I had kind of sworn it off. And then when, he was like, you got to try this. And I took a sip and I was like, that is not tequila. That's not the tequila I'm used to. And he was like, well, that's good tequila is what he told me. He's like, you've had bad tequila. Now you need to have good tequila and you'll enjoy it. So then I got really into tequila and how there's so many different variations. The barrels make a difference. The agave makes a difference. The region in Mexico makes a difference. So it became sort of a fascination of mine. And then I got really tired of paying $80, $90 a bottle for a decent, bottle. And if I wasn't paying that, then I was getting some celebrity brand, which I knew was not a high quality product in the bottle. You're paying for a brand. And so I just felt like there had to be a way to bring an affordable, bottle to the consumer. And I thought it was a niche kind of missed in the market, was an ultra premium, high quality product, but not at the crazy celebrity endorsed price. So that was where it all kind of began. It originally started kind of small. I thought it would just be something for my friends and I to enjoy and drink, but then and maybe like sell, at the Cave liquor store here in Big Sky so that some restaurants could carry it for myself and my friends. But then people tried it at our first public tasting and they were like, this is incredible. Like, where do I buy this? And so then I was like, okay, I think we're actually onto something here.
So Jake, you joined it fairly early. You weren't even full time. So how did you decide to get involved with something this small, this new? What excites you about it? How did you get the point you say, yeah, I really want to make this thing, a success?
I mean, one, Peyton created a really neat culture, and everything was fun and cool and new, and we were all doing new things that none of us had ever done before. So that was really the big thing is, I haven't done this before. Let's try something new. I was kind of stuck in a rut, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and a new experience popped up, and I jumped in full bore. Honestly, I did not like tequila whatsoever, and the first photo shoot we did, I can't remember what brand we had, because we didn't even have product at the time.
Yeah.
And I tried it and I was like, this is not what I was used to. And everyone that was working around him and Peyton himself just was very inviting, and it was energetic, and it was just a ton of new experiences.
So how many people were in the company, and did it worry you? I mean, Jake, when you joined, did it worry you, oh, this is a really small company, or you said, hey, this sounds pretty cool, or I'll give it a shot? And how did you look at it from a risk perspective?
I mean, I'm young, so the risk was pretty minimal. I feel like I had some backup to fall back on. Didn't feel like too big of a risk to take, but it was an exciting one. I think the excitement overwhelmed the worriness about it.
I have to say, your experience with the tequila, I made a trip down to Mexico City on business, and we had a business dinner. It was a really great restaurant, and our host ordered tequila instead of wine, and they came with what he called a setup, which was some lime juice and some tomato juice and the salt and then different tequila. And it looked like shot glasses, but it was sipping. And I was incredibly impressed by the whole experience. And so when you started, Peyton, what were some of the challenges you faced early on? And what do you wish you knew, that nobody bothered to tell you when you started?
Oh, there's way too many to list. I think the biggest challenges that I faced was in the Mexico aspect, because I had just turned 20 when I started the idea of this brand. And so I had to kind of lie about my age to everyone in Mexico because no one would take me seriously. And so I found that really challenging in negotiating contracts in Spanish and having to get a lawyer. And that was foreign to me, and I wasn't used to dealing with that. And then coming all the way up till when we had product launching, transportation and logistics and getting product through the border. And I didn't realize how many steps it actually takes and how much blood, sweat, and tears goes into getting a product on a shelf for the consumer to feel and touch and buy. We go to stores all the time and we grab something and buy it, and you don't even think about where it came from and how many hours went into getting that there. And so that was definitely, because my family's never been in consumer products, and so I was just completely out of that. But it was fun. I wish what someone would have told me, trust your gut. And I feel like I didn't do that enough in the beginning. And I think I should have just trusted my gut more on a couple things. And that's what I would tell myself if I could go back.
I'm shocked that you start this business where you have international manufacturing, you've got to work across borders, you've got a product heavily regulated, and at no point did you feel I'm a little overwhelmed by this.
I'm
What
not, I don't want to say I
what
just like it was all dandy and good, but I was
what
definitely
kept you from
overwhelmed.
stopping when you felt overwhelmed?
Honestly, the excitement every day with the business was just, there was always something new to be like a new challenge, whether it was good or bad. It was just always something new and fresh. And I felt very like mentally stimulated by it. And so I really liked having something when I wake up every day. I'm like, I don't know what's going to get thrown at me. I could be told that my product is sitting at the border in 120-degree heat and it's ruined, or I could get told we're going to have the biggest sales day of our lives. I have no idea. And that excitement and I don't know, just energy, I think fueled me, and maybe sheer, naivete, not knowing the outcome.
I think that's what I hear from a lot of entrepreneurs. You're going to have good days and bad days, but you work your way through it. So I
Totally.
think it's quite energizing to hear you start at 20, by the way, on a product that you have to be 21 to consume.
Yeah.
So Jake, you joined the company, and so how do you get customers? How do you convince people to take a chance on you? What are the things that they usually throw up as roadblocks, or what do they say? I'm really glad you showed up. I really want to talk to you about this.
Yeah, roadblocks in the first year. I'd show up and, I say I'm with 406Agave. No one knows what that is. So, and the way that gets it moving is we're not selling just a product. There's a whole story behind it, like Peyton told. There's a whole process. It's not just another tequila in a bottle that, we're slapping a label on and someone else is making. This is our recipe. It's different than anything else. It's in any other bottle. And there's a story behind it, and there's passion behind it, and a really small team behind it. And that's kind of the big thing that sells it. And then once people try it, that's kind of game over.
If you make a good product, you can work your way through almost any other problem.
Yeah. But the brand name thing is really tough to work around because there's over 3,000 tequila brands. But the special thing is there's just under 300 active distilleries, Peyton, I think, if that's correct. And
Under 200,
under 200 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't make it at another distillery that 30 other, 40 other, many other brands make it at. It's our distillery that really distinguishes our product between the others. And I'm lucky to be able to sell such a high quality special product.
So how did you come up with the name Peyton?
I wanted to do 406 because I wanted it to be sort of like, my idea was having this sort of secret like Easter egg to Montana, and I wanted to combine tequila and Montana in some way, even though I knew it wasn't going to be made here and we can't make it here, but this is my home and this is like where all of my friends are and my family's out here. So I wanted it to be a very Montana centric product, but then I wanted it to be the highest quality tequila. So 406 was the original thing that I came up with. I liked it, and it was originally, I wanted 406 tequila, and then Kendall Jenner launched 818 tequila right before so then it changed and we started thinking like, what can we do that, makes it still known that it's tequila, but it's not directly playing off of hers. And I liked Agave because in alphabetical order, it shows up first, and it definitely what tequila is made from. So, I mean, it's kind of the root of all tequila is agave. So that was how the name originally came to be.
And for our listeners, 406 is the area code
For
here in Montana.
Yeah.
So it really is
Yeah.
a Montana business with some great
sure.
Montana people working at it.
Yeah.
And how long did it take to come up with the name? Like, did you do it in an afternoon? Did it take weeks? Did you spend a lot of time worrying about it?
I started writing down different things on a whiteboard in my basement, and my roommate at the time, I just showed it to him and I was like, which one would you pick? And he picked 406 Agave. And then a bunch of people, there were like 14 people at the table, and I brought the whiteboard and I asked them what if they would pick. And a couple people said, there were a couple people that said something else, but like unanimously it was pretty much 406 Agave. And I think there were like one or two people that were like, yeah, I like it, but it could be different. I was like, no, I think enough people immediately picked that. And that was the one that was my go-to that I really liked and I had come up with. And so I was happy to know that it resonated with people.
So Jake, do you just sell this in Montana? Do you take it nationally? Is there a desire to take it nationally? How do you think about distributing this, and where do you plan on distributing the product?
Yeah, so we're in Montana, over 200 accounts now, with myself and another sales rep up in Whitefish. And then one of our other employees, Bailey. It's kind of a team effort. We're direct to consumer as of this last August, in 37 different states. So most states besides Montana, we can't ship in Montana. We're available. You can order it straight off our website, direct to your door. And then as far as brick and mortar locations, for now, Montana is still the only one. And Montana has been hard to keep up with supply. I mean, we've been kind of going through it faster than we can make it, which is a great problem to have, but also for expansion, I think we'll get there. But it's a work in progress, and international is definitely the goal.
And how do you think about what your next big strategic moves are, Peyton? Because you've got your manufacturing going, you've got a company established, you've established your product in your bowling head pin market. What are the next kind of moves you got to think about?
So the last 5 months, we've been sold out of Blanco because we were going through a transition period with our distillery. We built our distillery with our master distiller, Armando. And so we were really setting ourselves up to have everything in-house, and which is a very rare thing on the market right now. And so that was a big, future step for us to say, hey, we can now control everything in-house. We own everything, and we don't have to rely on so many other factors. That was a big thing, this past year, and looking forward into 2025, I think now that we have that, because that took a long time, but now that is completed and up and running and everything's going smoothly, I'm just looking at, where we can expand into markets that might really connect with the brand and are looking for a high quality tequila that is a decent, mid-shelf price, but a really high quality product.
It is hard to hire people, good people. You're lucky Jake decided to join you, but there's only so many former, people you knew from Montana State or were part of your dorm that you can attract to the company. How do you think about attracting people and just in terms of leadership? Were you born with your leadership skills? Did you learn them in college? Are you developing them? How do you think about being a great leader and motivating people for the company?
Yeah, it's something that I've thought a lot about, I would say, in the last year. When I first started 406, I had no real thought about being a leader. It doesn't dawn on you until I think you're a little ways in, some of the dust has settled, and then you're like, oh God, these people all rely on me and my name's on the paycheck. Oh shoot. But it was something I really thought about over the last year of how to be a better leader for each individual that wants to work at 406, because no two people are the same, and two people might disagree or not get along. But if you show up and you get your job done and you can collaborate at work, then that's awesome. I'm not trying to conform people to fit something. I want to meet them where they're at. And that's something I've been trying to do a better job at. I think when I first started, it was kind of just my way or the highway, and I didn't really care. And then as you go on, you learn that's not how you encourage people to be the best that they can be. But if I was born as a natural leader, I don't know. I feel like that's something that you don't really think about that much. I would probably say I had leadership tendencies and qualities as a kid, but I don't know.
So you, what kind of culture do you want to build in the company?
Well, I say quite often that our job is to sell fun and sell a good time. And I would like people to feel like they can have fun at work and doing their job. I want it to feel not like a chore, but like something you're excited to do every day. And I think this year, in the past we've done where we do events and PBR and Wildlands, and I've tried to get everyone in because we're all kind of remote in a way. We see each other not as often as I would like, but we try to get during those events everyone together, get spouses together or partners together, and have it be kind of a like a bonding experience and an enjoying, thing of enjoyment, and to kind of forget about work and just be you and show up as you, bring your person and have a good time. I would say that has been what I've tried to do. We did a trip to London for a conference, and everyone's partners were invited as well. That was something that I really enjoyed, and just getting to kind of be outside your comfort zone and get to know people on a human level instead of like, I'm the boss, you're an employee. I don't like any of that. So that's what I've tried to do. And going forward, I think I'm going to continue to just try to include people in their families, because we have, people on our team now that have children and, husbands and wives, and like it's growing and it's becoming more of a family. And I want to have that aspect to it where it doesn't feel like a chore every day. It feels exciting.
So Jake,
Welcome.
what motivates you, and how do you feel about the culture and what you guys are building here?
And I don't think Peyton gives himself enough credit, because since day one, it's not, I'm the boss, you're the employee. It's a friendship. And he welcomes everyone to the company, whether it is my girlfriend or my parents, and inviting us to events that we sponsor and making us feel like we're not just working for him, but it's a part of like our lives. Like every day is my job, and everywhere I go is my job. That's part of sales, but it's not a chore whatsoever. It's enjoyable. I get to meet new people all the time. I'm meeting really incredible people all the time. And Peyton does an incredible job at making it known that, the work-life balance is there, and that he understands that things happen. He understands that, life happens, or there's other important things to do.
Most of the people who are in Montana, there's an outdoor lifestyle here, 4 seasons, right? That's why,
Really?
that's why you're in Montana. So I think I find that to be a common theme across all the entrepreneurs here is bringing a Montana mindset, that family mindset you're talking about in your culture. It's hard to keep that over time as you get bigger. But I think if you can figure that out, that can be a real game changer for you. Is what motivates people, is that Montana lifestyle combined with the family friendly. And I also like the fact you extended that to your partners.
Girlfriends, boyfriends,
Okay.
wives, husbands of our team. Yeah. I wanted them to not just come on a work trip and when it's, all the way across the world. And I thought it was important that, if they have someone in their life that is important to them, and they can make a incredible trip out of it and a memory out of it, instead of just, oh, I have to go to London for 2 days for work. Why don't you stay for 5 and bring your person and have a good trip? And we can, then I get to meet and spend time with them as well, which I love doing. And because I love knowing about the people that support 406 and support, our team. And those are a lot of times my team's biggest supporter is their person.
That's a big commitment by the company, and certainly
It was.
it
I
sounds like
don't
it
think
was
it's
really
happening again
worthwhile.
anytime soon, but
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Well, that was great. So, as you think about where you go from here, as people think about these kinds of businesses, consumer-based businesses, what kind of advice would you have for anyone considering starting something? What advice would you have?
my friend actually called me about 11 months ago, and
Yeah.
he was going to start a gin company. And he was like, what would you tell me? And I said, whatever capital you think you need, triple it, and you might be close to where you actually need to be. And I think that's something I did not understand when I started the business, was how cash hungry this type of business is. And you're going to have points where you feel really tight because the business needs the cash. And, you're not going to be, I think people glamorize the liquor world and thinking that, oh, like if you own a liquor company, it's all flash and glitz and glam. And a lot of times if you're the owner, you're sacrificing your personal stuff so that the business has the cash to survive. So that would be the main thing. I think it's just, there's such a cash hungry business, and people probably don't anticipate that.
I think that is awesome advice, and it's so true. And I don't care if you're starting a Gen AI business, a fashion business, a liquor business. It flows true for every startup I've ever seen is everybody underestimates the cash needs. Maybe as one follow-up, did you self-finance? Did you raise it from friends and family? Did you raise it from investors? How'd you go about
Yes.
that?
No, I was very fortunate to have a college fund, which could be used for business or college. It was education or business. And I chose to cash that out and use it for the business. So that was my initial investment in myself, I guess. I was kind of throwing away the safety net and saying, hey, I'm gonna do this. And I think many people thought I was crazy, and then I raised through friends and family. And just recently we've started discussing the future and doing open to the public, crowdfunding and that sort of thing.
From your perspective, Jake, what kind of things did you pull out of starting a business that, if someone asks you, should they start a gin business, what would you advise them on?
I think what Peyton said earlier, trust your gut. Take the jump. If there's something that you're interested in and you want to do and you're passionate about it, take the jump. I think that's the big thing.
You didn't really know the tequila business, both of you, when you started. How quick did you have to learn all this, and how intensive, Peyton, was the learning in the beginning?
Yeah, I'm still learning every single day. I learn something new about the liquor industry and the laws and regulations and taxes. And I mean, it's a constant educational journey, but it was kind of like a fire hose in the beginning, and I didn't know how to turn it off. If I had advice for someone, I would say get good attorneys early on because they can solve a lot of the headaches. I was always hesitant to outsource. I wanted to learn it all myself and know everything myself, but then you just find yourself spending hours and hours and hours, reading through stuff, laws, regulations, and it's not what you need to be focusing on in that aspect. If you want to flip to the liquor industry as a whole, I learned a lot as well. I was familiar with food and beverage, but I learned very early on that food and beverage is very different than the spirits world.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so much competition that you really need to find what differentiates you and then stick to that. And I think that can be something really simple and you can elaborate off of that. And then that, those elaborations can evolve, but the core of what your brand is, I really, truly believe you have to stick to pretty close. Marketing can change, labels can change. And that's also something I would tell people is your first label isn't your last label. We've gone through 3 iterations now. Yeah, 3. And you keep evolving and learning. You make a mistake and you look and you go, okay, I'm not going to do that again. We can change it. I would just tell people not to worry so much in the beginning about making everything perfect because it doesn't have to be.
Jake, did you know much about sales when you joined? Did you know much about this industry?
It was trial by fire. I had zero zilch, no experience at all, but Peyton trusted me to do it. And it was, like Peyton said, a fire hose of information right off the bat. I mean, I still have it on my computer. We have a packet. I don't know. I think it's 30 some pages now of just information about tequila and how the supply chain works just in Montana and how we get it from the Department of Revenue to the liquor stores to the bars and restaurants, how we can and can't do that, how we can and cannot sample. I mean, it's endless, and I still do learn something new every day. And I think the biggest thing for me was just connecting with those accounts and those liquor store owners and those bar owners and managers, the people who know more than you do, and not being afraid to ask questions and learn from them.
I think one thing that I hear from a lot of entrepreneurs and investors is if you had a choice of hiring somebody for their knowledge or you hired somebody for their passion and their ability to learn fast, I've heard hands down, most startups are focused on hiring passionate people who learn fast. So, just turning to a few fun questions. Other than this podcast, any podcasts or books you'd recommend that have helped you on your entrepreneurial journey?
I'd say Lex Friedman is one that I've listened to. He interviews all kinds of people. He's interviewed, I think I just watched like the Jeff Bezos one. He has Mark Cuban, Jared Kushner. He interviews really interesting people, and just they talk about consciousness, spirituality, everything kind of related to them. And then he kind of deep dives into their business. And so that would be probably my recommendation of a podcast. If you like that stuff, I would say he's a good one.
How about you, Jake? Any books or podcasts?
Yeah, I think it's called Crucible Moments, and it deep dives with Dropbox and PayPal and Airbnb and Eventbrite and a bunch of other businesses, but taking it from and how they went from small to where they're at now, and what those decisions in between were, and what their crucible moments, their really big like decisions and how they affected them were.
I
So
want to listen.
those are great suggestions, guys. Last question. Peyton, you're up at Big Sky. Favorite restaurant in Big Sky?
I actually thought about this. I was trying to nail it down to one. There's too many. For certain occasions, I do different things. A fun night out, like quick, good food, Tres Toros tacos, good sushi, Blue Buddha, and then like date night, Lone Mountain Ranch.
Jake, I think you actually live in Bozeman, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. What do you like here in Bozeman?
Right now, my favorite is Stan. I don't know if you've been there yet.
Yeah.
Thai Chinese fusion. Unbelievable. Yeah. I wish they had a liquor license so I could drink tequila while I enjoyed their food, but it's phenomenal. But 1864 has been kind of my steady go-to, whether it's happy hour or a date night or appetizers with friends. Brigade is also, I think they have one of the best happy hours in town. I think those are the top right now. There's so many to count, but as of right now, it changes all the time.
Yeah. I love those three miles. So, let me go ahead and say thank you guys for doing this. I can't wait to get this one out. Great job creating. It really is a fantastic, great Montana business. I want to congratulate you on that, and I look forward to drinking your tequila.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. We'll get you a bottle so you can try it.
Yes, absolutely.
All right,
or
guys.
all three.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that session with Peyton and Jake. They are two very exciting entrepreneurs building fantastic business. Now, I had to run out and get myself a bottle of 406 Agave Reposado right after, and you should as well after you've listened. Now, I think there's a couple of great lessons we learned we could take away from Peyton and Jake. The first thing is that starting a business, there's always more you don't know than you know. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room as an entrepreneur. You got to be prepared to learn fast and adjust. What strikes me from every entrepreneur I meet is that they all talk about being curious. That curiosity is a key, I think, to being a great entrepreneur. Also being humble enough to accept criticism and the reality of situation and adjust. Now, Silicon Valley always talks about pivoting your company. Now, every startup needs some sort of a change or a pivot in order to be successful. We're not fully right on everything we do on day one, so learn fast, fail fast, and be honest with yourself on the facts. Now, the second thing Peyton mentioned was how he used the excitement and fresh feeling of every day to energize himself to get through those overwhelming moments. In other words, you've got to be able to use the exciting part of the job to get through those difficult parts. There is no startup that doesn't have a difficult and hard moment in time that you have to get through. Third key point is you have to start learning your leadership style early and what kind of culture you want. This is often overlooked. And you got to adjust it to get the behaviors you want out of your staff and create a great company. I think finally where the advice on cash. His advice to a friend was looking to create a gin business was take whatever you think it's going to cost and multiply it by 3x. I found that to be true. Cash and revenue are oxygen for a business. Manage your cash carefully because it is your money. I want to thank Peyton and Jake for all the great lessons learned and just the exciting, fun conversation. Good luck with your business. I want to thank my sponsors. First, Joogi, Joogi. You can find them on the Apple and the Google App Stores, and you should check them out for a highly unique social e-commerce experience. Or if you're in Bozeman, Montana, stop by Last Best Place Brewing and grab a pint. Or if you go to a restaurant, bar, or grocery store in Montana, ask for them.